Welcome to Nutty Buddy Entertainment. The next award being presented today is the I Wish Upon a Satellite Award. This is presented to the Spider-Man plotline that you wish would have taken place. And the nominees are...
Okay, so now we're going to go into this award of I Wish Upon a Satellite. And so let's get into our honorable mentions right away. We have one honorable mention for this one. And Elliot, I'll let you take this one. It is The Amazing Spider-Man 3. So you want to go ahead and give your case for that honorable mention?
Yeah, well, see, we wouldn't have minded if they did integrate Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker into the MCU, which was the original idea anyway. And I think if that happened, I reckon me and Neil would have stubbed to an Amazing Spider-Man 3, despite how awful its predecessor turned out. Would have gone, screw it, we'll go check this out. You know, he's in the MCU, and obviously these films will tie in now eventually. So if Tom Holland was never cast, we wouldn't have minded an Amazing Spider-Man 3 at a small price to pay for him being in the overall arching narrative of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah, I agree. If this movie was made, then it probably would have meant that we would have Spider-Man in the MCU earlier. Which you're right. We wouldn't have got Tom Holland, but at least we would have got Spider-Man quicker, right? That would have been nice.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, let's look at some nominees here. Here are the nominees that we're going to talk about today. Let's go with Spider-Man 4. So, Elliot, this is you again. So you want to make your case for the nominee for Spider-Man 4?
I made my case when we were talking about John Malkovich and Bruce Campbell. Obviously, as the villains, you know, like, what would we rather have, a dozen MCU movies or Sam Raimi Spider-Man 4? I'd pick Sam Raimi Spider-Man 4 every single time. I think after No Way Home and maybe after Multiverse of Madness, maybe there could be in some ways have like a Logan aesthetic to Spider-Man 4. They bring Sam Raimi back, Tobey Maguire. It could conceivably, by a small chance, still happen, and the box office would bloody explode if it did. So, yeah, I don't need to make any more cases for how much people still want Spider-Man 4 nearly over 14 years later.
Yeah, it would have been even cool to see the lizard. Like we talked about how they set all these characters up and they weren't able to cash in on them. So, yeah, I'm with you. And Neil, anything to add for Spider-Man 4?
Yeah, for Spider-Man 4, it's something that I see happening now more than ever. And as Elliot just mentioned, post No Way Home and probably even after Multiverse of Madness, I feel like Sony are angling to maybe bring Raimi back and have him do Spider-Man 4, but set in the modern day of that universe. It's something that they know there's money to be made at the box office with that. They know there is an audience out there for a fourth Raimi movie now. I can totally see. I'm willing to bet money on it happening in the next 3 to 4 years. That this is just the lead into more stories. I think Andrew Garfield might become the Spider-Man of the Sony, whatever Sony's multiverse is. It'll be him and Tom Holland sharing the screen every now and again, but Garfield off doing his own adventures and crossing over with these villains that they're setting up in their, what do they call it? It's got a terrible name.
Spum.
Sony Pictures Universe of Marvel movies. Yeah, SPUM.
Yeah,
it's something
Spum.
like that. Yeah, it's something like that. It's an awful acronym. I don't even know if it is that, or if it's Sony Cinematic Universe. Whatever they are setting up, they're going to need their own Spider-Man, because clearly Tom Holland's staying in the MCU
for another trilogy.
So yeah, which Amy Pascal confirmed, and Tom Holland was like, I can't talk about it, but yes, it's basically happening. And Sony are going to want their own Spider-Man now. I don't see it being Maguire, but I do think Spider-Man 4 is going to happen. We've just got to give it a little bit of time. But I think they'll bring Raimi back, and they'll try and do the movie he wanted to do back in 2011. They'll do it in a modern context, so several years will have passed. Maybe he's not Spider-Man anymore. Maybe he's retired. And they'll bring in that universe will have a Miles Morales maybe, and he has to come back because the Vulture steps in and ages up. We have John Malkovich Vulture. That'd be great, but I feel like they'd cast somebody else now. as the Vulture, and maybe he's got the powers like he has in the comic book where he can steal the youth from people, and he'll make the current Spider-Man, who is Miles Morales, several decades older, and Maguire will have to step out of retirement to save the city one last time. Yeah, I can see it being a Logan sort of thing where he's been out of the mix for a while, he's a little rusty, he's a little out of practice, but he comes back literally and metaphorically swinging. So yeah, I think it's going to happen, guys.
Well, I hope you're right
on that.
Yeah, I hope you're right. But, you know, I wonder how Morbius is going to fit into all this, too, because they're setting that up, obviously. So it's interesting if they bring him in there, or he'll be part of the reason why. He could be part of the reason why Vulture has to do what you mentioned about stealing the youth of people. Like some sort of disease that comes from him or something like that. It might be interesting to bring that. To see how all that comes together.
Well, there's that shot in the first trailer for Morbius where you've got Morbius walking past a wall that is covered in, it's either a poster or it's graffiti of the Raimi Spider-Man suit.
Correct.
And it's hi. That's all right. It's the Raimi Spider-Man suit. With murderer in sort of graffitied across it. So are they trying to say that this is going to be part of that universe? And Maguire's, I don't know, it's a real head F at the moment. So I just don't know where it's going to go.
And remember, like I just thought of something too, because remember where Doctor Strange talked about that everybody that fought Spider-Man and died, they're basically have come into the MCU. But there are some of the villains that show up that didn't actually die, or we didn't see get killed by Spider-Man. So you wonder, you wonder if something happened, you know, where it showed him as the murderer, if he actually was part of part of the reason why one of those two died. And we'll find out how like Sandman was accidentally killed by Spider-Man, or he was somehow involved, or the same with Lizard. So that might be interesting. Okay, let's go to our next nominee here. The Kingpin. So this is on me. We talked about this earlier, but the fact is, like, Kingpin is such an integral villain to Spider-Man throughout the comics, throughout the animated series, the video game, right? The video game that came out. The fact that we haven't had a plot line with Kingpin in a Spider-Man movie yet baffles me. So this is the plot line that I kind of wished upon a satellite that we would get one of these days, is a Kingpin plot line with Spider-Man.
Yeah.
It's the one thing that Vincent D'Onofrio has wanted more than anything since he accepted the role.
Yeah.
Would you guys agree with me that that's where I think we're heading in this next trilogy, with this college trilogy? I think because he may or may not be returning this Wednesday. He definitely is. he definitely is. I would love. Yeah, I'm really hoping it's going to be Kingpin's going to be the linchpin villain of this next trilogy, and that excites me immensely.
I'm with you there. I think that's very possible. And then you also know that they're probably going to want a Venom in there somehow as well.
Yes, exactly.
So and maybe even our last nominee. Oh boy, this is you, Neil. Yes. So maybe this guy will show up too, but you have the Kraven's Last Hunt storyline. You actually mentioned a specific storyline that you wanted. So full disclosure, before I made my list up, I was like, wait, the Kraven Last Hunt. I actually looked online to see what that was all about. Very fascinating story. Do you want to explain what that is and why you'd like to see it?
Well, it's just on that note, I read the other day that Tom Holland had said John Watts, before the Marvel Studios deal was all sorted out for this third Spider-Man movie, John Watts had pitched a Kraven versus Spider-Man film as the third movie of a disconnected trilogy. So the Last Hunt story is Kraven is basically, he's traveled the globe, he has hunted the most dangerous beasts in the world. But the thing that on his list, the thing that he wants desperately, the trophy he wants to be able to go, well, that's it, I am the greatest hunter of all time, is this Spider-Man. This is the greatest prey, and I'm going to go out there and get him. And I desperately want to see that story told. Again, it's something that I think is coming a little further down the line, because as part of the Spum, as part of the Spum universe, we actually have Craven now has been cast, and who have they cast as Craven? Aaron Taylor Johnson. Quicksilver from Age of Ultron is playing Craven in the movie that Sony are planning. So is he going to... They could do a variant storyline mixed with Craven's Last Hunt, where it's Wanda seeing her brother again, but it's not her brother, it's Craven. That's probably a pipe dream, but it's doable.
It's possible
now.
though, right?
It is
It's
totally possible.
yeah.
But Craven is one of those villains, much like you with Kingpin. I mean, I really want to see Kingpin, so I'm with you on that. He is the only other villain I can think of that I have desperately wanted to see. Him, and in recent years, I'd love to see a cinematic version of Mr. Negative. What do you? Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to add Tombstone amongst that list as well.
Oh,
Yes.
good one.
Good one.
Yes.
That is really good. Yeah.
Have you guys ever watched season 1 of Spectacular Spider-Man? Because I know I got you the DVD 5 years ago, Neil. Did you ever
Yeah,
watch
not
that?
all the way through. I need to pick it up again on Netflix, but that is one of the greatest Spider-Man shows ever made.
Yeah,
Ever.
by a fine margin. What about you, Ryan? Did you ever watch Spectacular Spider-Man?
I don't think I have. That's not the. I watched the one in the 90s, obviously, the animated one.
Yeah,
but,
that's a
but
classic.
I don't think I've watched the Spectacular one.
Yeah, that's next on your agenda. So
Okay,
yeah,
okay, I'll write
It's
that down
really
actually
good.
right now.
it's
Yeah,
great.
Spectacular Spider. And you said it's on Netflix.
Yeah, it's on.
It's definitely on Netflix in the UK. Give it a look in the US. I hope it's still on Netflix. It's one of those things. I'll check that while we talk. You guys keep going and I'll...
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're. Oh, go ahead, Elliot.
Yeah, because I was going to say as well, when Neil was talking about Craven's Last Hunt, I definitely see Insomniac tackling that as one of their main arcs for Spider-Man 2 in a couple of years' time, especially as he's going to be prevalent throughout the sequel, so I look forward to that.
Yeah, and I just thought the ending of it was so when I and how he felt like he won, and so his life was accomplished, so he ended his life. I was like, that was like, man, that would be a crazy story to be on screen.
Yeah.
So with that being said, let's get into our winner then.
And the winner of the I Wish Upon a Satellite Award goes to Craven's Last Hunt.
Well done, Neil.
You love me. You really love me.
So this was one of the awards that we had all different answers to at the number one spot. And I was like, once I saw what it was about, I'm like, you know what? I'm giving this one to Neil because this would be super cool to see, like this storyline. Also, you actually went with, I agree with Spider-Man 4 as well. But the fact that you came up with this plot line all like out of the blue, I was just like, man, that was cool. Like that, I didn't even think of that one. So anyway, good.
They were all three of those. I think you could have given any one of those the award, and it was like the perfect winner of any one. Well done, guys.
Yeah, that was a good one.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
Because we gave the villains the previous award, it felt like, I think Craven's Last Hunt was definitely deserving, as we gave, that much, It's a deserved award.
Yes, very, very much so. Can't wait to see him on the big screen. So let's go to our next award. Well, what do you guys think? Is the plot point of Craven's Last Hunt a movie that you guys would like to see a live action version of? We have 3 more Tom Holland movies coming up, so let me know. And let us also know what other movies you'd like to see or plot points in a Spider-Man live action movie. If you haven't, please like, subscribe, and comment in the comments below. I hope you guys enjoyed, and we will talk to you guys soon.